Hello my riders, and let's embark on a journey about horror, darkness and betrayal. A journey about Galloper Thompson. But as a beginning, what do we know about Galloper Thompson? A headless dude who chases around people for the sole purpose of stealing their souls. Also seen as a bad omen if you see him, but generally people don't survive to tell the tale. That's not enough. So I'm going to explain the story of Galloper Thompson, and by showing some of the major pieces of information we have in the game. The most common way to get info is literally by going into Thompson's lair. Ghosts trapped there gives a shard of the story. Also, they always inform you where they died and how. How nice of them. Everything begins with the expedition of John Jarl in October 1218. As the crew begins to explore the island, they discovered ruins. You know those druidic pillars filled with, probably, Pandoric magic or Adine light, or whatever, same pink stuff to me. Well, one of Ghost talks about the ruins of a lost civilization on what's called Butter Hill today, with an architectural style never seen before. He also asks the player, why did the previous population disappear in the first place? What if it also happens to us? You spooky. Another one say that the ruins are cursed, at the Forgotten Fields. He also speaks about the people who created those ruins long time ago, that they were linked to the magic of this place. Also, he probably thinks that the cause of his death was his arrogance for moving in, and the magic strike back. What a great place to live in. As our headless guy, not so headless at the time, come with the population on Jorvik, he already stands out, without having to lose his head. It is said that every horse in Jorvik's stable avoid and reject our guy, because he wasn't gifted by the Adine's light. Horses might have been just snobs at the time, but actually Jorvikpedia tell me he might just be soulless. But it's still rude. Another ghost tell us about the mayor, and how, even though he was gifted to speak with Jorvik's horses, he couldn't understand, as she was, I quote, silent. I mean, what does he expect? Her first word, poo. And so our duo finally meet, yay, soulless and silent. But actually the ghost of a druid told us that the mare is deprived of light too, so probably soulless, which would explain the silence, I guess? She was from the east of Jorvik, which is completely unknown area today, but I wouldn't be surprised to know it's linked to some dark entity. So the druids take her to examine and do scientific druidic research, but probably got busted by young living Thompson, or maybe just the mare herself, and got killed. Our duo is already related to mysterious deaths. That was fast, wasn't it? Going back to the first weeks of exploration in 1218, for understanding Thompson's affair, we need to make a detour on why and how they lived on an island already called cursed by the newcomers. First disastrous choice, for officially calling this place their own, John Jarl decided to erase every trace of the previous civilization. Let's destroy those strange pink-infused rocks. Guess what? Someone tried, and died. Surely it was the mournful ghost. After that, I guess they sent others doing the job, because apparently, some others people died that way. After those ominous deaths, you would think they will stop trying, right? Nope. John Jarl, who wants now the shiny pink stuff inside the rock, or making some kind of exorcism, a ritualist said, may. So John Jarl called Magnus Steignar, yep, the legendary blacksmith. So he tried to, which make every horse they've got driven mad. Because, you know, Jorvik's horses are warm-blooded, ha ha ha, sigh. Maybe this is why Magnus Steignar lived secluded in the Dinosaur Valley. The sight of mad horses is for sure frightening. Another brilliant idea from our great Jarl, construct a big city, on an ominous, some would say cursed place, the Devil's Gap. Yay. But who doesn't want a city named after yourself to have some dangerous and grim suburb to talk about, till the 13th century? I mean, who needs only one type of curse when you can have more? Finally, people think he's not that good of a leader, mostly because he changed his religion to God to the unknown druidic figure of Adine. But I prefer to think it's because he always chose the worst spots to live in. But I think I can understand these guys. I don't think I would have liked that the guy who convinced me to follow him on the sea, to blindly travel on the seas for months, so we can find an unknown land to live in. Because he had literally visions of God, who told him to go live on this island. Then just go, I'm gonna be a druid, which suggests he was lying or didn't believe that much in those visions, as I was nearly dying on the boat. That was a prank guy, hee hee. So the war begins between Jon Jarl and a rival Jarl for taking power onto the lands of Jorvik. In the end, there was only one survivor during the War of Jarls, one soldier of Jon Jarl's side. You know, at first, I thought that Thompson was maybe the rival Jarl and he died being executed after he did a rebellion. No. Actually his death was caused by his immortality. Yeah, I know, that sounds weird. After this battle, Jon Jarl discovered that his soldier was immortal. He wanted to know how to get immortal too. Weirdly, the ghost knows that he achieved immortality through an accident. The same way that made him soulless perhaps. I don't know how he even got to know that. Also, the soldier needed to bring with him the secret of immortality. Which was maybe this giant squirrel placed in the race of Thompson's past, who is the cousin of Fripp. Yeah, I don't think so either. And then Jon Jarl, always great at taking the most cursed decisions, decide to execute the guy. Like, you don't want to share the secret of immortality, alright, you are punished, no life for you. But since he's immortal, he outlived his beheaded situation and thus begun his rampage of all the citizens loyal to Jon Jarl and Jorvik. But guess what, there's still more. Apparently, as the soul of Thompson is restless, so is Jon Jarl about his duties, beyond the grave. Meaning they can still meet today, what a great opportunity. Also spoiler, I'm talking about the ghost of Jon Jarl, who is present in the main Soul Rider quest, where he is really and already present in game. Through the centuries, the psyche of our antagonist didn't get any better. So pretty much angered to the core, here goes our Thompson. Once beheaded, he enjoys doing bad tricks, the kind of deadly one. First victim of his cruelty, the ghost of a miner, who found death inside the Damascus mine. He could hear his demonic laughter, as his final moment came. We also get to know that Galloper Thompson is not his real name. His identity could be anyone, or anyone ancestor. We know that Galloper Thompson killed anyone who was loyal to Jon Jarl, but it seems it isn't enough to satisfy his bloodthirst. For example, a child ghost told us about his death. Firstly, how even a child is loyal to Jon Jarl so soon. I don't remember being this much into politics at that age. Also, can we have a moment for this? Thompson stomped to death a child. This is some brutal death, kids. Our doer was ruthless, but well, since he calls him Old Galloper, it must have been centuries later after his execution. So I'm gonna call that some hardcore loosen up. Numerous questions are raised about the curse. How does it work? What are the limits? What is the nature of this power? Firstly, let's inspect what the cursed have to say. Meeting up again with the dead kiddo, he speaks about how a runestone of Adine can protect one from harm. But, since he failed to reach it before getting poof, does it really works? Because light beats darkness, blah blah blah. Anyway, the choice of his victims is either way linked to their loyalty to the Jarl, or just hazardous, or maybe linked to another factor. We found a surprised ghost to find himself in the lair of Thompson. Apparently, he claims to be a good person, but most importantly, loyal. It didn't say to the Jarl, but he might be just the fact to be loyal who made him a target. We learned that the curse can touch dead people too. Even death can't save you from Thompson's curse. I can't tell for sure if Thompson chooses his victims or not. It's a bit confusing. Can't agree or disagree yet. But he sure has some company with him, since they were stuck with him. Actually, all the ghosts suffer from the same state of restless that Thompson suffers of. A ghost almost speaks about Thompson's sin. Was it the so-called accident that granted him immortality, or just a reference to the deaths he committed once he was beheaded? This doesn't make sense to me. Getting punished with a curse, for the crimes you committed after the curse, doesn't sound like it. So it must be a reference to before, when he had a head. As the power of the Galloper remains, so does his curse on his victims, but also on the lands of his victims. We don't know how, but the curse can affect a land. The farmer ghost claims that his chicken farm must blossom today, just like before. Little did she know that the farm on Nilmer's land is forsaken and pretty much haunted, or so it is said. That would explain the cursed farm of the miserable Jews, right into the Forgotten Fields, a place already called out for being cursed earlier. Centuries later, the curse still remains on the lands. But talking about places, Thompson's lair is pretty much interesting to look at. But did you hear it too? A ghost, literally called out as mysterious in game, talking about a subject that nobody talked about yet. The lair. The cauldron is supposed to have the rhythm of a beating heart, and is perhaps linked to the Ashlands. And what can we find in the Ashlands? A volcano. Not quite sure how it is linked, but it's something. For the beating heart of the cauldron, we could take it as a metaphor. The cauldron might just be the head and heart of Thompson. As it is the only voice that speaks to us, other than the ghosts, come from the cauldron. Then we just give him the soul shards to maybe help his soul to rest, or feeding Thompson's immortality by giving it directly to his heart. I would consider much more the redemption route, as Thompson, headless as he is, can still make noises to agree or disagree with my statement. As he's really sad, it seems more like a redemption route, yes. Actually, someone confirmed this desire to get rid of this curse from Thompson. The problem is he apparently needs souls for that, a lot of them. Don't know why he must take the shards of the livings, then leaving us the dirty work of finding soul shards at death places. Maybe he just begins this redemption after the slaughter, which is more logical. But I know another type of people who also steal souls, witches. They put it in their magical scarecrows, if I remember correctly. So he might try to redeem himself by freeing every soul he took. But why do we give the soul shards by launching them into the cauldron? Why into the heart? Do we purify his soul by doing so? Blessing him with Adine's light? Does Galloper Thompson was and is the first Shadow Knight? I mean, his horse pretty much looks like that horse who can run leaving fire behind his steps. But immortality, quite tricky to get, even for a Shadow Knight. Could be a Shadow Knight vampire, since we can't confirm what his head looks like, but it's a bit too much. Maybe we will know more once the east of the map is revealed. Or at least the Ashlands, since the truth can be found there. Moreover, who is this giant squirrel? Is he so important that he is big like a mansion, or he's just like that? Maybe it's Katie true form in Pandora. Even though the forest looks like a mistfall but with some souls? Or pixies? What are those? I've got a ton of questions, even for the pig, but at least we know the big lines of the story, right? Well, apparently that's not sure. Since the Summer Festival 2019, Linda told us that maybe not everything was true what the ghosts told us about Galloper the previous year. And since nothing has changed, can't really get anything out of it. So it might just be a reminder of what do we know about Galloper, or what we want us to know. I will see you maybe onto another horrifying video. See ya, buddies.